You're asking for something impossible, Mara. We're not a bank. That sentence didn't just come out of my father's mouth, it cut through the air like a blade. It wasn't only the words, it was how he said them. Cold, final, as if my son's life was just a bad business deal. I remember that day like it's tattooed on my mind. The air smelled like the old carpet in my tiny apartment, a mix of dust and disinfectant. Caleb's breathing machine hummed softly in the next room, each mechanical breath reminding me how fragile he was. My hands were trembling as I held the folder of hospital documents. The estimate circled in red, $85,000. That number had become my nightmare. It wasn't a dream figure, it was a lifeline. My father stood in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing that same expression he used when I disappointed him as a teenager. My mother was just behind him, clutching her purse like it held the answers to the world. She couldn't even look at me. Her eyes kept darting to the floor, like if she avoided my face, she could avoid the guilt. "Dad, please," I said. My voice cracked halfway through the word. "It's not for me. It's for Caleb. The doctor said this treatment could save him. It's his only chance." Before we dive into this story, tell us where in the world you're watching from and what time it is right now. Someone near you might be watching too. And don't forget to subscribe to support and appreciate the work we do on this channel. He didn't move. He didn't blink. "That's not realistic," he said again, calm but sharp, like he was explaining a math problem to a child. Realistic. That word echoed through my skull. I thought of their other realistic decisions, like spending $230,000 on Lily's wedding, the horse-drawn carriage, the 12-layer cake, the custom gold invitations, the live band that played all night while I watched from the corner, smiling for pictures but knowing my parents were celebrating the daughter they actually loved. Now, when it was about my son's heart, literally his heart, they talked about realism. I swallowed hard. "You spent more on flowers for Lily's wedding than this treatment costs. I'm not asking for a luxury. I'm asking you to help save your grandson's life." Mom finally spoke, her voice small. "You have to understand, honey. Things were different then." "Different?" I said. "You had money then, and you still have money now." Dad's face stiffened. "We can't just give you $85,000, Mara. We've got retirement to think about. Bills. Your mother's health isn't what it used to be. So Caleb should die because of your bills?" I asked. My voice wasn't soft anymore, it came out sharp, shaking. "He's your grandson." Mom looked at me then, tears forming, but she didn't say a word. She looked at Dad instead, waiting for him to end it, and he did. "I'm sorry, Mara," he said, already turning toward the door. "We just can't." They left before I could say another word. The click of the door shutting behind them felt louder than anything I'd ever heard. I stood there for a while, numb. Then I walked to Caleb's room. He was asleep, his little hand wrapped around his toy truck, the blue one with the chipped wheel. The breathing machine hissed beside him, steady but cruel. I sat beside him, brushing the curls off his forehead. "I'll find a way, baby," I whispered. "I promise." But the truth pressed against my chest like a weight I didn't know how. I was a single mom with a part-time job and a pile of medical bills that looked like a mountain I couldn't climb. That night, I sat on the couch long after Caleb fell asleep. I stared at the hospital folder, the numbers blurring through my tears. My father's words kept looping in my head. Not a bank, not realistic. I thought about calling them. Again, maybe trying to reason, maybe begging. But what would be the point? Their minds were made up. They'd spent nearly $250,000 on Lily's perfect day, a day with champagne and music and fairy lights, but somehow, saving their grandson's life was too much. At one point, Caleb stirred in his sleep, and I ran to his side. His chest rose and fell slowly, each breath fragile. I pressed my hand to his back, feeling the small movements. "I'll fix this," I whispered again. But even as I said it, part of me felt hollow. The next morning, I made a list of every possible option: loans, charities, fundraising websites, anything. I told myself I wouldn't stop until I found a way, because I had to, because no one else would. And deep down, something shifted in me that day. It was quiet, almost invisible, but real. A small seed of anger, buried deep in the grief. They closed the door on me, but I wasn't done knocking. After my parents walked out, that day, something inside me changed. I didn't have time to cry anymore. I couldn't afford to. Every second mattered because Caleb's life was slipping through my fingers like sand. I started with hope. I believed that if people just knew the truth, if they saw Caleb smile, heard his story, someone out there would help. I set up a fundraiser online. I wrote the post 100 times before hitting publish. Is greater than my son Caleb needs an $85,000 treatment to live. Please help us. I shared it everywhere: Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, anywhere with a share button. For the first few days, the donations trickled in. $20 here, $50 there. Every alert on my phone made my heart jump. But then, silence. I watched as the campaign froze at $2,400. I refreshed the page again and again, hoping something would change. Nothing did. The rent was due. The hospital bills were stacking. I started selling everything I owned: the TV, my wedding ring, even my car. I told myself, you can always walk to work, but you can't walk your son back to life. I picked up extra shifts at the library, night shifts. I'd spend hours alone in the aisles, pushing the cart, shelving books, the hum of the air conditioner louder than my own thoughts. Some nights I'd sneak into the restroom to cry, but I'd stop before my break was over. Tears didn't buy medicine. Then came the day I made a mistake. I opened Instagram. Lily's page was glowing pictures from her honeymoon in Italy. She was standing by a lake, smiling with a glass of champagne. So blessed, her caption said, with heart emojis. I stared at that picture for minutes. Then I scrolled. Another post: her new car, a white Mercedes with a bow on top. Then another: her housewarming party, champagne again, laughter, mom and dad sitting in the corner, smiling like royalty. I threw my phone across the couch. My chest was on fire. My parents had told me they couldn't afford to help. But there they were, surrounded by money, gifts, smiles. That night I didn't sleep. I watched Caleb breathe and wondered if they ever thought about him. A week later, I went to my parents' house to drop off some tax documents I'd found. I almost turned back, but I needed to return them. When I got there, the front door was open. I heard laughter coming from the kitchen. I froze in the hallway. Lily was showing off her wedding album. Mom and Dad told me to get whatever I wanted, she said, flipping through the pages. Mom's voice floated through the room. You deserve it, sweetheart. Deserve. That word stabbed through me. I stepped back quietly, clutching the papers to my chest. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My throat closed. I turned around and left without them even noticing I was there. Driving home, I couldn't stop thinking about that one word: deserve. Did Caleb not deserve to live? Did I not deserve to be helped? That night, I sat beside Caleb's bed. His breathing was slower than usual. The machine hissed like it was struggling to keep up. I reached for his hand, cold, tiny, soft. I'm still fighting, baby, I whispered, even if it's just me. The days blurred together after that. I barely ate. I barely slept. I was just surviving. Then something unexpected happened. A message popped up on my fundraiser page. Is greater than, hey, I saw your story on Reddit. Can you share more details about Caleb's condition? My heart leapt. Maybe it was a reporter, maybe a donor, maybe a miracle. I typed out every detail: the doctor's notes, the hospital name, even the GoFundMe link again. They replied within minutes. Is greater than, got it. Thanks, I'll share this with my team. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. I went to bed thinking maybe things were about to change. But the next morning, when I checked the page, I froze. My campaign had been taken down. Violation of terms of service. The N message said. Someone had reported it as fraudulent. I sat there, staring at the screen. My stomach dropped. I refreshed again. Same message. Gone. All of it. Then, an email arrived. From Lily. Is greater than, hey sis, people were saying your fundraiser looked fake. I just thought I'd step in before it hurt your reputation. You're welcome. I read that line over and over. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She'd done it. She'd destroyed my one chance, and she thought she was helping. That night, I packed Caleb's bag and drove him to the hospital again. His oxygen levels had dropped too low. They admitted him immediately. I sat in the hallway, cold, shaking, broke, and furious. Through the glass window, I saw him sleeping. Tubes everywhere. I pressed my hand against the glass and whispered, they'll regret this, every single one of them. Outside, the sky cracked with thunder. It was the first rain in weeks. And as the storm began, so did something inside me, a new version of myself. The woman who'd begged was gone. The one who would fight was just waking up, because I knew what was coming next. And so would they. The hospital became our second home. The smell of antiseptic, the constant beeping, the whisper of nurses moving past, all of it became background noise to my new reality. Caleb was getting worse. The doctors stopped making promises. They just said, "We're doing our best," in that careful tone people use when they've already given up hope. I sat beside him every day, reading stories, pretending everything was fine. I'd smile and say, "We'll go to the park soon, okay?" Even when I knew we wouldn't. He'd nod and whisper, "Okay, Mommy," before drifting off again. At night, I stared at the ceiling, calculating numbers that didn't add up. I called every charity I could find, every church, every foundation. Everyone said the same thing: "We wish we could help, but we're out of funds." I stopped answering calls unless they were from the hospital. Every unknown number felt like it could be the miracle, but it never was. Then one afternoon, I got a call from my mother. For a split second, I thought maybe, just maybe, they had changed their minds. I picked up fast. "Mom?" Her voice was calm, too calm. "Mara, you have to stop this. You're exhausting yourself. It's not healthy." "Mom, he's dying," I said. "He's literally dying." "I know, but you can't keep calling us. You can't keep asking. It's too stressful for your father." That word stressful, it hit like lightning. Stressful? Watching my child die was stressful. Fighting alone was stressful. Their guilt? That was just discomfort. Something snapped inside me. "Tell Dad this, I don't care about his stress anymore. My son needs help, and if you can live with yourself after this, that's on you." She went quiet, then said softly, "You don't understand how complicated things are." "Complicated?" I shouted. "It's $85,000, Mom. You spent 3 times that on a party. A party." Silence. Then the line went dead. I stood there shaking, phone still in my hand. Then I threw it. It hit the wall and shattered. The sound felt good. It was the only thing that broke that wasn't me. That night, the doctor told me Caleb's condition had changed. "We need to prepare you," he said. "If the next episode happens, we might not be able to bring him back." I couldn't feel my legs. I sat down slowly, staring at him. "So that's it?" I whispered. He looked down. "We'll keep him comfortable." I went into Caleb's room. He was asleep again, small and pale under the hospital lights. I pressed my forehead to his hand. "I'm sorry," I said. "I tried." 2 weeks later, it happened. I woke up to alarms screaming through the room. Nurses rushed in. I jumped from the chair. "What's happening?" "Code Blue!" someone shouted. I froze. They pushed me out of the room, and the door slammed shut. I could see through the glass the doctors working, their hands moving fast, the machine flatlining again and again. I kept whispering, "Please, please." Then, silence. The doctor came out. One look at his face told me everything. We did everything we could. I don't remember much after that, just holding his tiny hand as it went still. The weight of it, the warmth fading second by second. I sat there all night. I didn't cry. I couldn't. My tears had run out days ago. The next morning, my phone rang again. My mother. I answered, voice hollow. "He's gone." There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh, Mara, I'm so sorry. But listen, Lily's baby shower is this weekend. You should come. It'll help you heal." I didn't speak. I couldn't. That's when something inside me, the last piece that cared, broke completely. I hung up. I didn't pick up when they called again. I didn't open the curtains for days. The world could go on laughing and posting and celebrating. I was done. Weeks passed. The hospital called about final bills. I worked. I ate when I remembered to. I spoke to no one. Then, one night, I found myself scrolling through my phone, staring at an old photo, Caleb and me in the park, sunlight in his hair. I zoomed in on his face. The smile. The life. Something in me whispered, "This can't be how it ends." I looked at my laptop on the table. The fundraiser was gone, but the story wasn't. My story. Our story. That's when the idea hit me. What if I told it? All of it. The truth. Raw and ugly. Not to beg, not to ask, but to make them see. I opened a blank page. The cursor blinked, waiting. My fingers hovered over the keys. I started typing. "Is greater than..." They said I was asking for something impossible. Turns out, They were right, because all I ever wanted was love without a price tag. I kept writing for hours, for days. Every sentence felt like breathing again. I didn't know it then, but that story born out of pain would change everything, because the world was about to hear what they did, and they wouldn't be able to hide anymore. 4 years. That's how long it took for silence to stop hurting. I buried Caleb, but I couldn't bury what they did. I carried it, every word, every memory, like fire under my skin. For months, I couldn't even say his name out loud. But pain changes shape. At first, it breaks you. Then, if you survive long enough, it becomes fuel. I started writing again. Not for money, not for attention, just to breathe. I wrote about loss, about guilt, about parents who could look at their grandchild and see a number instead of a heartbeat. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The truth lived between every line. I posted my first story online under a fake name. It was called The Price of Realism. It was short, honest, sharp. The first comment said, "I cried." The second one said, "This happened to me too." By the end of the week, it had 1 million views. Then came the interviews, the podcasts, the book deals. I told the truth without ever saying their names, but the world heard it loud and clear. People said my words healed them. They didn't know I was just trying to heal myself. By the time my second book came out, I didn't just have peace, I had power. The kind that comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. That's when Lily texted me. Is greater than, "Hey, Dad lost his job. Mom's been sick. We could really use your help." I stared at the message for a long time. $85,000. That was the number they needed. The same number I had begged for. For a moment, I felt nothing. Just silence in my chest. Then, a strange calm washed over me. It was almost poetic. I told her to meet me at the diner on Maple Street. When I walked in, they were already there. My parents looked older, smaller somehow. Lily sat beside them, her perfect smile dimmed. For a second, it almost made me sad. Almost. My father tried to smile. "Mara," he said, like nothing had ever happened. "It's been a long time." I nodded. "Yeah. 4 years. He cleared his throat. "We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. Your mother's medical bills, my job situation, it's been rough. We just need a little help. Maybe 85,000 to get back on track." The number hung between us like smoke. I looked at my mother. Her hands were shaking. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I pulled a checkbook from my purse and started writing. My father's face softened. He thought he'd won. Then I slid the check across the table. $90,000. They blinked. My mother covered her mouth. My father whispered, Is this real?" "It's real," I said. "Just like Caleb was." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "Look at the memo line," I said. He turned the check. The words were clear. For Caleb. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father's face went pale. "Is this some kind of joke?" he asked, voice shaking. I stood up slowly. "No, it's a mirror." He looked at me like he didn't understand. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he never would. Lily finally spoke. "Mara, this isn't fair." I turned to her. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You reported my fundraiser as fake. You took away my last chance to save him." Her mouth fell open. "I didn't." "Yes, you did," I said. "And you know what's funny? I forgave you long before this. But my son? He deserved more than you all gave him." The air went still. No one spoke. The sound of the diner, the clinking dishes, the low chatter faded away. It was just us, locked in the truth. My father's lips parted like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. He just stared at the check, at the words written in ink that could never be erased. I leaned forward. "Keep it, cash it, or tear it up. I don't care. But when you see those numbers, remember what they cost me." Then I turned and walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear my mother crying, Lily whispering something about pride, my father calling my name softly, as if the sound could fix years of silence. Outside, the sky was gray, heavy with rain. I didn't have an umbrella. I didn't need one. I stood there, letting the rain hit my face, washing away the last of the anger. For the first time in years, I felt free. But as I walked to my car, something stopped me. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a notification. Lily had just posted something on social media. It said, "Is greater than sometimes, forgiveness hurts more than hate." Underneath was a picture of the check, the one with, "For Caleb" written on it. The post already had hundreds of christing comments, people asking questions, people guessing. My heart dropped. The story I had kept quiet for years was about to explode. I looked up at the rain, my pulse racing. They wanted a mirror. Now, the whole world was about to see the reflection. By morning, the internet had caught fire. Lily's post was everywhere, screenshots, comments, reactions. My notifications wouldn't stop. Some defended me, others demanded answers, but no one knew the full story. I didn't respond. Not yet. I watched it spread like wildfire. News pages picked it up, tagging my author name. Best-selling writer accused of shaming family online. But the truth? I didn't need to say it. The check said everything. By noon, reporters were outside my apartment. Neighbors stared. Old friends texted. One message from an unknown number read, "Is greater than, you finally did it, Mara. You made them feel what you felt." That line stayed in my head all day. My parents called nonstop. I didn't pick up. I couldn't listen to their sudden concern now that the world was watching. I just sat by the window, the same way I used to when Caleb was alive, staring at the light breaking through the blinds. By evening, Lily posted again. This time, she deleted it 10 minutes later, but it was too late. Screenshots lived forever. Is greater than, we all make mistakes. Some we can never fix. The comments were brutal. People turned on her, calling her heartless, selfish. Some even posted clips from my old interviews, piecing the puzzle together. And just like that, the roles reversed. The family that once pitied me now begged for mercy from strangers. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. It didn't feel good. It just felt even. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Caleb, his small face, his hand around his toy truck, the sound of his breathing machine, the way he'd whisper, "Don't cry, Mommy." For years I thought justice would heal me. But justice is quiet. It doesn't cheer. It doesn't clap. It just sits there beside your grief and says, "There, now you're even." A week later I went to the cemetery. The sky was pale pink, the same color it had been the morning we buried him. I brought fresh flowers and his toy truck, now faded and missing a wheel. I sat down, tracing his name on the headstone. "I did it, baby," I whispered. "They finally understand." A soft wind passed over me, warm and slow like an answer. For a moment I felt peace, small, fragile, but real. Then my phone buzzed again. It was an email, from an unknown sender. The subject line read, "Is greater than, you think this is over?" I frowned, opened it. Inside was a single picture of my parents' house, taken from outside. Then another, my old childhood room, the one with the yellow curtains. And a message below it, "Is greater than, we're not the only ones who know what happened." My breath caught. I looked around instinctively, heart pounding. The cemetery was empty, just me and the wind. Another message came in, "Is greater than, there are things you didn't know about Caleb's treatment." The world tilted. I read it again. My chest tightened. The sender had attached a file, hospital, records, PDF. My fingers hovered over it. I hesitated, then tapped. The file opened. At the top was the hospital logo, my son's name, but below it, a note I'd never seen. A payment entry. $85,000 received. Paid in full. The date 1 week before he died. I froze. My throat went dry. That couldn't be real. It couldn't. A message popped up again. "Is greater than, ask your father who paid it." The phone slipped from my hand and hit the ground. My pulse was wild. For 4 years, I'd lived with one truth, that they refused to save him. But now, if this was real, someone did. I picked up the phone, trembling fingers typing one question back. "Is greater than, who are you?" The reply came instantly. "Is greater than, someone who knows the real price of forgiveness." I looked up at Caleb's grave, the wind whispering through the trees. The peace I'd felt seconds ago was gone, replaced by something colder. Because maybe the story wasn't over. Maybe the truth I thought I buried was still alive. If this story touched you, subscribe for more real stories that stay with you. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one.